Hello, this is Gray Hughes of Gray Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Please hit that like button, share the video, and subscribe. As we all know, the Delphi transcripts are out, the trial of Richard Allen that took place last October, and he was found guilty, but the trial was not televised or videotaped in any way, and so we had to rely on people's notes. But now we have the actual transcripts from the trial, and I'm going to play them on my channel. Now, I tried reading the whole thing last night, and it just got too difficult for my voice, so I found another way to do it, all right? So we're going to play every single day of the trial. It takes a long time to prep these files to get ready to do this, but a lot less time than spending almost 5 hours reading on my channel. Now, we can all listen to these together on my channel. I'm just going to have a static picture on the screen, and it's really just kind of audio from the trial, and you'll get to hear how it all went down. All right, so thank you for watching, and let's get started right now.
Mr. Mullen, before we start, I'm just going to remind you to speak up as loud as you can. I know we were having some issues with the microphones yesterday. I want to be able to make sure that the jury can hear you, and also the people at the defense table and myself. Fair enough? Yes. Okay, will you state your name, please? Stephen L. Mullen. Q and Mr. Mullen, how are you employed? I am currently the investigator at the Carroll County Prosecutor's Office. And how long have you been employed in that position? Since January of 2020. Q, prior to that, were you employed as a law enforcement officer? Yes, I was. And how long have you been a law enforcement officer? Since 1983. And did you go through any kind of special schooling or training to become a law enforcement officer? Yes. I attended the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy in Plainfield, Indiana, back in 1983. And do you attend annual training seminars to update yourself on investigation techniques, new technology, anything that pertains to law enforcement investigations? I do. And do you do that on an annual basis? Yes, I do. In your capacity as the investigator for the prosecutor's office, what is your role? Mainly, I follow up on cases that the prosecutor's office is investigating and handling. I organize and make sure evidence is handled properly so we can prosecute the case. And for lack of better words, you're our tech guy. Is that fair? I do that too. So you set up computers, organize digital data, set up the TV for us. You do all those technical aspects that are needed in my office. Is that fair? Yes. Okay, I want to take you back to February 13th of 2017. At that time, how were you employed? February 2017, I was the chief of police in Delphi. And how long had you been the chief of police as of February 13th of 2017? Since April of 2014, up until the point where I was employed by the prosecutor's office. And I want to talk a little bit about that day. Were you on duty that day? Yes, I was. And what was a normal day and routine activity for you as chief of police of Delphi? As chief of police, I supervised the officers who worked at the police department, made sure that reports and paperwork was completed, and also followed up on whatever was going on that day. And it was simply a routine day that day. What shift did you routinely work? I would normally come in around 7 o'clock, 7:30 a.m., right? And then finish my shift around 5:30. And did you do that on February 13th, 2017? Yes, I believe so. After you went off shift, what happened? So I completed my shift around 5:30 or so and went home. And it's when I arrived home, I began hearing radio traffic concerning 2 missing girls. Now, is it typical for an officer in law enforcement to carry their radio with them and have it on after their shift? Yes, and I do that often. It's typically for you, at least? Yes. Okay. And so you heard that 2 girls were missing? What did you do? Next, the next thing that happened was I received some text messages concerning the 2 missing girls from citizens that were in our community. And I became concerned and then contacted dispatch and talked to them about the situation and learned that there had been 2 girls had been dropped off at the entrance to the Mears Trail or the Monon Trail and had been missing since around 1400 or so that day. What is 1400? I'm sorry, 2 p.m. And did you find out the girls' identities? Yes. They were LG and AW, both of them 13 years of age. Judge, I'm going to ask permission for the witness to approach what's been marked previously as State's Exhibit 5, which is the map on the TV showing the area we're going to be talking about. He may. Investigator Mullen, I'm going to ask you to step down to the TV, and we're going to go a little bit old school here. Miss Mullen, because everything I tried yesterday, high-tech failed. And so I'm going to give you this pointer to point to different reference points that I'm going to ask you about. And Judge, I'd also ask permission from the court to publish to the jury. I've printed out a hard copy of State's Exhibit 5. I've provided that to the defense as well. And I'd ask permission from the court to publish to the jury so they can make notes on it. And as a fail-safe for the technology, just because it didn't work very well for me yesterday, so I'd ask permission to do that now. You may? You may. And Judge, I'm going to move these exhibits. Okay. I've been told by the bailiff that the jury's having a hard time seeing the screen. Is that better? Okay. Is that? It's better. Thank you. Can the jury now see the screen? Okay, and Judge, I may stand back here just so that I don't block the defense. Okay? And hopefully I can project my voice enough where the court reporter can see me. Investigator Mullen, I want to get back to the report, was the girls were missing, and they had entered. And where was it they entered? Our understanding was they entered at the Mears Trail entrance. Can you point that out on the map? Yes, this is the Mears Farm. And hence, we call this entrance for the trail the Monon Trail, which is located right here, the Mears entrance. And are you sufficient enough on that screen where you can zoom it in a bit? Sure. Okay. A maybe. There we go. Okay, thank you. Will you point out the Mears entrance again for the jury so they get a better view of that? Right here. And the information you had gathered at that point was that the girls had entered that entrance? Yes. What other information did you have? They had been dropped off there, and they had not returned when someone came back to pick them up. Q. Once you got that information, what did you do? At some point then, I went into the sheriff's department and went to dispatch and tried to assist in whatever way I could in order to locate the girls. And you can have a seat back in the witness stand, please. Thank you. And in your effort to assist, did you reach out to Delphi Community School Corporation? I did. I had several phone numbers for the officials at the school in my phone, so it was very easy for me to contact the school officials, principal, guidance counselor, and see if I could locate some friends or acquaintances of the girls so that we could perhaps find out where they had gone. And after you did that, what did you do next? One of the things I did next was I began making those photo calls to try to find someone who might know where they were at. And then I spoke with different people who were out maybe searching for the girls and trying to find out where they may have gone to. Q, was there a command center set up at this point? At that point, it was the Sheriff Leesenby, who was leading the charge of trying to find the girls. And so I simply talked to him and assisted in whatever way I could, being chief of police, and tried to assist him in any logistics that he might need. Did you participate in any of the search that was done that day? I did not participate in any of the search myself. I never left the sheriff's department to go out on the trails, nor did I go out on the trails before I went to the sheriff's department. Q, where did you post at, or where did you stay at while the search was going on in dispatch at the sheriff's department? And did you stay there the entire day of February 13th? Yes. I was there the entire day up until 2 o'clock or so p.m. a.m., 2 o'clock a.m. on the 14th. On the 14th. Okay. Is that when the search ended? Yes, shortly before 2 o'clock a.m. we ended the search. And at the point that the search ended, what were you investigating at that point? 2 missing girls. The information was that they were on the trails, had not returned. Most of the searchers out there were looking for maybe someone had been injured. We had no idea anything nefarious had happened to the girls. And so at the end of your shift, which would be 2 a.m. on the 14th, you used the word nefarious. Can you explain that a little bit? When you left shift, or when you left the dispatch, or sorry, let me back up. When you left the sheriff's department at 2 a.m. on the 14th, did you think anything bad had happened to the girls? At that point, I still believed that, given time, they would probably return home. I just, at that point, couldn't imagine someone had done any harm to them. When did you come in next? A. In the morning. When you left at February 14th at 2 a.m., which is technically in the morning, when did you come back in? At about 7:30 a.m. I arrived at the police department, and at that point, the girls were still missing. Becoming more concerning, I thought. And so with that information, social media had been pretty active about the girls being missing. And so there were a lot of people who showed up to help find the girls on the trails. And what did you do at 7:30 a.m. that morning? A. I met with the volunteers who were there, people from the community who wanted to go out and search, and produced a map to them, some of them, and also gave them my phone number to call. At that point, was there some kind of meeting point or command center set up? Yes. At the Delphi Fire Department at that time was located inside the city building, and so we met at the fire department. Q, and tell me the procedure of what would happen when people would come forward and want to help search. Well, we took names of individuals and wrote them down on a sheet of paper and recorded and some phone numbers, I think, but mainly their names, and gave them information, a map about where to go, perhaps. And so during that procedure, you were giving the searchers maps, and were you directing them where to search? A, I was not directing them at all. I think the chief of the fire department, he was assisting that aspect. I didn't really direct anybody where to go. Q, do you know where the search party people were directed to go and look? Obviously, we're going out on the Monon Trail in that area. As far as sectors and areas where different teams were supposed to search, I didn't command that. And I'm going to ask you to approach the map again, please. And can you point out to the jury what's your understanding of what areas the searchers were searching? So that evening and the next morning, the searchers were predominantly looking downstream. If something had happened to the girls, perhaps they had fallen or become injured or come into the stream, they were searching downstream. So the search would encompass this area here, along up and to at the bridge. I think there was some searching on this side of the bridge, on the Weber side, and I think there was also some searchers that went to this area here, which is kind of a flat area up on top, and then there's a valley where the flat area, it's a sharp incline or falling area, where I don't think anybody crossed this line. And I have to remember that we don't have a jury from Carroll County, and so I want to put in context some of the landmarks that we're going to use when we ask you some additional questions. So, first of all, I'm going to try this. If you could grab a pen and denote on the map where the city of Delphi is. The city of Delphi is located over here. And if you could denote that with an X, please. The city of Delphi in this area and that direction. And so would that be to the west of the Monon High Bridge? Yes, it would be. And then, can you denote the Freedom Bridge? This here is the Freedom Bridge. And the Freedom Bridge crosses, it looks like a divided highway. What highway is that? The Hoosier Heartland. We've talked about the CPS building. Can you denote that on the map, please? Yes, the CPS building is located right here. And we've denoted, or we've talked about, prior to this, the Mears entrance. Can you circle that on the map, please? Mears entrance is located right here off County Road 300 North. 300 North, sorry. And can you label that as 300 North as best to your ability? Thank you. Can you also denote the Monon High Bridge? Yes. This structure, which is located right here, is the Monon High Bridge, so that area there. And the section to the, I'm going to say northwest, is that commonly referred to as the beginning of the bridge? Yes. This would be the beginning of the bridge. Can you put a B on the map, please, for beginning, A, and then where would be the end of the bridge? A, this area here at the other side? Could you put an E, please? Thank you. And where is the Deer Creek? Deer Creek flows this direction. It's the body of water that comes through town. And just keep speaking up a little bit. Yes. And you answered my next question. Which way is the creek flowing? It flows from east to west. And can you put an arrow on the creek pointing to which way it flows? Thank you. Now, while you're there, there's been some testimony about the Hoosier Harvestor. Can you locate that on the map? A Hoosier Harvestor is here. I'll put an HH. Yep, that's fine. Located right here. Okay. All right. Where? Okay. So tell me again, to your understanding, where were people searching for the girls? On the following day, on the 14th, the search began to encompass this entire area, but the evening prior to the 14th and even early in the morning. MR. Judge, may I ask a preliminary question? You may. Sir, you said a moment ago that you used the word thought, that they didn't go past a certain point. I mean, you also testified that you were at the police station when the search was happening, correct? Correct? So you don't know where anybody was other than through hearing other people, I suppose. Is that correct? Yes. I object to this speculation as to where people were searching. I'll move on, Judge. Okay, Investigator Mullen, you can have a seat back at the witness stand, please. Thank you. On February 14th, you were assisting at the fire station with setting up or at least sending out the searchers. Is that a fair statement? A yes. Did you do that the entire day on the 14th? Yes, I remained at the fire department, police department. And so you never went out and assisted with the search on the 14th either? No. I want to draw your attention to around 12:15 on the 14th. What happened then? At around that time, I received a phone call on my cell phone from Pat Brown, and he told me that hold on just a minute, can't say what and what information or what did you find out from that phone call? He had located 2 bodies. And what did you do next? I remained at the police department, informed the officers who were around me, and they left the city building to go to the area where he had said he had found the bodies. And were you notified of where he found the bodies? Yes. And I'm going to ask you again to approach the map, and to the best of your ability, where is your understanding of the location of where the bodies were found? He said that the bodies that he had located were south of the Morning Heights Cemetery, which is located right here. If you could mark it on the map, use the pointer, I'm sorry. Sure, the Morning Heights Cemetery, okay? And your information was the bodies were found where? South of this location and somewhere close to the creek. Can you put a circle where your understanding of where the bodies were found? What he told me at that time, my understanding was somewhere in this vicinity. Okay. All right. You can have a seat back at the witness stand, please. What did you do after that? I remained at the police department, fire department, and sometime around 2 o'clock, we met with the members of the family who were still at the fire department, police department. They hadn't gone anywhere. Members of what family? Of the families of AW and LG who were present at the fire department during that day. And why did you meet with them there at the fire department? Myself, Indiana State Police Public Information Officer Kim Riley, and the chaplain met with them to explain to them more precisely we had located 2 bodies, and we were at that point trying to make identification. What did you do after that? I remained at the police department, and around 7 o'clock, I got a phone call from an individual, Tom Mears. Q, and did you gather information from Mr. Mears? Mears told me that he knew that the Hoosier Harvestor business had a set of cameras. They had security cameras at their location, which focused towards the roadway on 300 North. I'm going to ask you to approach the map again, please, and if you'll grab the pointer. I know it's circled, but can you point out for the jury the Hoosier Harvestor business? This is the Hoosier Harvestor business, owned by Dan and Kathy Pennington, and you'd gathered information that they had security cameras? Yes. Did you go to the business location? I did. And were you able to view the security cameras? Yes, the Penningtons met me at the location, and we viewed the video that they had on their security cameras. And which direction, the security camera you viewed, which direction was it pointing? The security camera was located around at this point, and it had a view that went directly out to the roadway on 300 North and then panned to right about in here. Can I draw a line? Yes. If you would draw, I guess, a field of view that you were able to see from the security camera. The field of view was straight down the edge of the building. That's a little bit off, and then out towards this direction, maybe a little closer to that. but this is within the field of view of the camera. And did you view the security footage? I did. And were you able to see 300 North? Yes, I was. And what time span did you look at? We looked at a short period of time, mainly sometime roughly daylight. Any daylight period of time was where we could see, obviously, cars. If it was dark, we couldn't see anything that was on the road. It's not visible in the dark. So mainly from around 8 o'clock, I think, until around 5:30 or so, 6 o'clock. So 8 a.m.? Yes. And you viewed the security footage all the way through what time? Around 6 a.m., when it began to get dark and we couldn't see anyone. You mean 6 p.m.? Did I do it again? Sorry. 6 p.m., excuse me. All right, and while you're viewing that security footage, what are you doing? Hey, I used my cell phone at that time to take some pictures of the vehicles that were traveling on the road. And what was the intent of that? To preserve that information and make sure that we had pictures of the vehicles, some of them at least, so that then we could go back and try to collect the video. Ken, how long were you there at the Hoosier Harvest Store, viewing that security footage? We were there probably 45 minutes to an hour. Okay, you can have a seat back at the witness stand. Thank you. I want to fast forward to 2024, I believe. We saw drone footage from a prior witness, and I want to talk about that drone footage. Can you describe to the jury how that drone footage come about? Yes, worked with the Tippecanoe County Sheriff's Department, and they brought their drones up to photograph the area. We actually took the drone footage on February the 13th of 2024. We did it at that time because that was the best representation of the foliage that was in the area back in February of 2017. So it was pretty consistent with what we would have seen back then. The only differences were the improvements made to the bridge and the trail. And that drone footage, or at least part of the drone footage you took, is what was displayed to the jury through Kelsey German. Yes. Was there additional drone footage taken? Yes. Was there drone footage taken from the Freedom Bridge to the Monon High Bridge? Yes, there was. And was that taken at the same time? Yes. Judge, I'd like to play that drone footage now. It's 9 minutes, and so the state's gonna move to admit that drone footage. What I'd also like to do, Judge, is take a screenshot of this and admit it as an exhibit, as State's Exhibit 1-7. And also, while they're watching the drone footage, I'd ask the court leave to print this out. We can print copies for the jury to publish to the jury. Any objection? No objection to any of that, Judge. All right. Without objection, 6 and 7 are admitted. And so, Judge, we'll need just a second to get that queued up. Do you need to help him? I feel like I do, Judge. Okay, he feels he needs to help you. I feel like he does too, Judge. Thank you. I think you need to go back. Steve, you're not done. Oh, get back there. So I'm going to have you narrate to the jury what we're seeing in the drone footage, okay? Oop, you fast-forwarded it. Okay. Okay, so where are we at now? This area here you're looking at right now is the beginning of the trail. The trailhead pretty much was the same as here, as it was back in 2017, without the improvements to the lane, which I believe started back into this area where they now have it paved. Now you're referring to this as the trailhead. Trailhead. Q, that's not what we've heard in the past from the other witnesses. Where is this on the map? This is located at Freedom Bridge. So this is beginning at Freedom Bridge? Yes, and that is the bridge, I guess, that was farthest west on the map? Yes. Okay. A Blue Bridge over Hoosier Heartland. Go ahead if you could start the video again, please. This kiosk was not there as well then. And where is the drone footage moving? Where is it going? It is moving along the main trail towards the High Bridge. And so is this an accurate representation of what you would see if you started at the Freedom Bridge and worked your way down the trail towards the Monon High Bridge? Yes, it is. Okay. Except in 2017, this was not paved. It was all gravel. And when this was done, what date was this done? The video was taken February the 13th, 2024. And I want you to allow the video to run. And can you point out when we get to the Mears entrance? Yes, this fence was not there at that time. Q, I need you to speak up just a little bit. You're not micced up, so everybody has to be able to hear you. In 2017, this barrier or fence was not there either. I would ask in your narration as we move along if there are other aspects that were not there in 2017. If you could point those out to the jury, just try to get an indication of what was there and what wasn't there in 2017 as opposed to 2024. Are we approaching the Mears entrance at this point? Very close. Were there benches on the trail back in 2017 that we see there? Yes. To your knowledge, all the benches that we've seen on the video, were those also there in 2017 as well? To my knowledge. Okay, just go ahead and let it play. Is this the Mears entrance we're coming up on now? Yes, and Mr. German testified about going straight down to the creek. Is that the trail? Can you point that out, please? Yes. I can stop it real quick. Okay, it'll be easier. Go back just a little bit. I'm sorry. That's okay. Go ahead and let it play. But the trail that we saw to the right was the trail that Mr. German was speaking about? Yes. From the Mears entrance to now, where are we still headed towards the Monon High Bridge? If my bearings are correct, we are moving towards the High Bridge from the Mears entrance. Okay? And now you're just coming into view of the High Bridge entrance. And in 2017, did the entrance to the Monon High Bridge look like it does on this video? No. What improvements have been made since 2017? Since 2017, they have installed a deck area, making it easier to walk out on the bridge, safer, and the railing on both sides, and the kiosk that's located here. And I think there's concrete leads from the paved blacktopped area to the deck entrance. Q. And how long does the deck entrance go onto the bridge, out onto the bridge? I'm not sure exactly, but maybe 150 feet. Okay, and then after that improvement, what does the rest of the bridge look like? A, it is the unimproved area that they would have seen back in 2017. So the section of the bridge that we're coming up on now, the unimproved section, is that more indicative of what the entire bridge looked like in 2017? Yes. Okay, so now which section of the bridge are we entering onto? This is the original this is the original area of the trestles. Ties that we're looking at the top of the bridge on the top. Now I notice a platform there. Were there other platforms throughout the length of the bridge? Yes, there are. Do you know how many there were? I don't. Now I can't say for sure, but I think there's 3 or 4 of these situated along the area between the improved section and the end of the bridge. Are they all on the same side of the bridge? No, they're on different sides. As you can see, one is on the right-hand side, other one's on the left-hand side. And this section of the bridge would have been what the entire bridge looked like back in 2017. One caveat. At that time, that area was not as well grown over as here now, because you aren't able to walk out onto the bridge. At least they don't do it near as much. At that time, it was more cleaned off. People would break the limbs off or whatever it was, that tree, they'd break it off. So there was more traffic on the bridge in 2017 as opposed to today. That's what I believe, because you can see there's limbs and overgrowth in the area was not there then. You're from Delphi, Indiana, correct? Yes. You graduated from high school here? Yes. Lived here your whole life? Yes. Q, in your experience with your life here in Delphi, what kind of people typically would cross this bridge in 2017? And I'm going to specify that a little bit. Would adults typically cross this bridge? Some. Who was more inclined to cross the bridge back then? Teenagers. Younger people. I'm going to ask you to pause the video for a moment. Sure. Teenagers, younger people. Is that correct? Yes. Yes. We've come to the end of the bridge. Where are we seeing now? This is the end of the bridge, and we're facing towards the east. And this is Weber's Drive that goes underneath the bridge and back up to Weber's house. And this end of the bridge, after you get to the end of the trestle, would that be the beginning of Weber's property? Yes. Okay. Ask you to play the video again, please, or play the remainder of the video. And that is Weber's Drive that we're seeing underneath the bridge? Yes, that's correct. Have a seat back at the witness stand, please. Judge, at this point I've already moved to admit it, but I'll just submit to the court reporter State's Exhibit, the video, 6. And then at the next break, Judge, I will print the photo that we plan to exhibit, or entered exhibit, as State's Exhibit 1 think maybe. 7? Sorry, Judge. I can do that now, but I can do it at the next break if that would be more time efficient. You can do it at the break. Judge, I don't have any other questions. Thank you, Judge. Mr. Baldwin, do you want this left you? Maybe. I don't know. I appreciate it, Nick. Now, just so everybody knows, you were involved in the investigation of the deaths of AW and LG from the very beginning? Yes. And all the way up until even a few days ago, correct? Yes, the search was called off at 2 a.m. Is that what you said? Shortly before 2 o'clock a.m.? Shortly before 2 a.m.? And that's before 4:33 a.m. Is that correct? Yes. About 2.5 hours before 4:33? Yes. Thank you. On the 13th? On the 14th, were you aware if there were dogs that were going to start searching around the area of the cemetery, if you know? I don't know. I'm sorry. There was some... Are you aware if there was any interest about searching around the cemetery area south of the cemetery at some point in time, later on the 14th? I appreciate that you did that on February 13th, 2024. At least that's similar representation, but you would agree with me that things changed quite a bit in a lot of different ways since 2017, correct? Some? You testified to some of that? There were improvements to the bridge, right? Yes. Improvements to the beginning of the trailhead near the Freedom Bridge? Yes. Q. Some railings you saw up there? Yes. And you also, I think, stated there near the end of your testimony that there was more overgrowth and brush along the Freedom Bridge. I'm sorry, the High Bridge as the drone went over it. Is that correct? Yes. So visibility back in 2017 from the bridge, either east or west, would have been better in 2017 than what we saw in 2024. Perhaps. And even at the end of the Weber property, it was less overgrowth then in 2017. Is that true? Than in 2024. That's my understanding. Q, and the trees were smaller and they grew over the course of 7 years, yes. So the best representation of what it actually looked like, and again, I appreciate that. I think it helps the jury out, but it would have been 2017 videos and photographs, if those things exist. Yes. No other questions. I don't have any redirect, Judge. Thank you. All right, does anybody on the jury have any questions for Mr. Mullen? We've got one here in the front. Oh, and in the back. All right, counsel, if you'd approach, please. What was the thought process of looking downstream? Okay. Yeah. Could you please provide clarity on where the bodies were found? Was it near Deer Creek or the creek reservoir that runs north-south from Morning Heights Cemetery? That's fine. Was the drone moving at a pace equal to a normal walking pace? Would it take approximately 9 minutes to walk from the trailhead at Freedom Bridge to the end of High Bridge? Is that one question? Both are together? I think can answer that, but that's no problem. It'd be a quick walk. Yeah. Sidebar conference concluded. Sir, what was the thought process when looking downstream? Looking downstream from the bridge area was the possibility that they may have fallen off the bridge, if I'm understanding the question correctly, that the girls may have fallen off the bridge. As I understand, it's about 63 feet at the highest point, so a fall like that would have injured someone if they'd fallen into the creek and gone downstream. So we were looking downstream to see if they were there somewhere. Any follow-up, Mr. McClellan? No, Judge, thank you. Mr. Baldwin? No, Your Honor. Thank you. Could you please provide clarity on where the bodies were found? Was it near Deer Creek or the creek reservoir that runs north-south from Morning Heights Cemetery? The bodies were found along Deer Creek, but off north of Deer Creek in that area south of the cemetery. Without going to the map, it's difficult to buy. Why don't you go ahead and approach the map and, certainly, answer that question, please. Mr. Mullen, here's the pointer. Sorry. Could you repeat the question, Judge? Yes, could you provide clarity on where the bodies were found? Was it near Deer Creek or the reservoir that runs north-south from Morning Heights Cemetery? I'm not sure if I understand the Reservoir Creek Reservoir, but the bodies were found right in this area here. So I'm not sure where they're referring to the creek reservoir at. Any follow-up, Mr. McClelland? Judge, yes, please. Thank you. Mr. Mullen, I'm going to ask you to zoom in on the map, and I want to give the jury some more clarity, but I want to ask a couple questions before that. Did you actually go to the scene? I did not go to the scene where the girls were at the time they were there, and so you're not able to give an exact pinpoint of where they were found? No, but you know the general area, A? Yes, I do. Okay, you zoomed in on the map, is that correct? For the record, yes. And I'm going to zoom back out a little bit, and can you point out the cemetery? I'm sorry, the name has escaped me. Morning Heights Cemetery. That is Morning Heights Cemetery? Yes. Okay, I'm going to zoom it out, for the record, a little bit more. And what is the road that connects to Morning Heights Cemetery? This road along this location here is County Road 300 North. This is Morning Heights Cemetery, and the question talked about a creek reservoir. Is there a creek reservoir that runs from Morning Heights Cemetery down to the Deer Creek? I am not familiar with the term creek reservoir. Is the topography such that Morning Heights Cemetery is above Deer Creek? Yes. The area here at the creek is lower. I don't have an exact foot number or a calculation, but it is, well, Morning Heights Cemetery is higher than what the creek is as far as the topography goes. And it seems like from the picture that there's some kind of ditch or ravine running this way. Is that true? Yes. As far as I'm aware of, there is some sort of erosion area here, but the deepest part of the gorge or valley runs in this area here. And now that we have the map zoomed, can you point out the area of where the girls were found? My understanding is they were located right in this area there, right here. Were they in water? They were not in the water. So they were not in the Deer Creek? Correct? They were on dry land? Yes. Okay, I don't have any other questions, Judge. Any follow-up, Mr. Baldwin? I do, Judge. And where the girls were found is in a flat area, correct? Yes, okay. And I would correct that, not exactly flat, but it was more level than some of the other areas out there. Okay, and you've been to the Weber property? Yes, and can you point out where that is? Yes, this is the Weber home. This is Weber Drive. Have you been at the Weber home? Yes, I have. And the Weber property, the Weber home is up here, and where those girls were found is down here, correct? Yes. And from the Weber property, you can see the area where the girls were found from his patio. Judge, may I ask a few foundational questions? I'm going to object to that question. Yeah, go ahead. Member, did you ever go over to the Weber property and look over to the area where the girls were found? Yes, I did look over in that area, but I wasn't able to see. When did you do that? I think on the 27th of February. It was in February. Of 2017? Yes. And were you able to see where the girls were found? I was not. Okay. I guess I'd withdraw the objection, Judge. The foundational questions answered Mr. Baldwin's question. He asked, would you be able to see? I'm going to object to that question. I'm okay with the question. Could you see? Sustained. Could you see the area, maybe not where the bodies specifically were found, but generally see in that area where the bodies were found? I was not. Thank you. No other questions. You may step back there. Have a seat back up there. Retake the stand. There's a couple more questions. Was the drone moving at a pace that would be equal with an average walking pace? Thank you, Judge. Good question. So when we did the drone footage, I wanted them to move at a pace which was similar to one walking down the trail. Now, is it an adult walking? Is it a teenager walking? There's some variation there. So the original footage we had was 1x. We multiplied it by 2. So it looked more what it would be like when a teenager was walking. It may have moved a little fast, it may have moved a little slow. It was difficult to mimic exactly that particular speed. Any follow-up? So the video that we saw, that was 2 times. You say 2x? Yes. That was fast-forwarded 2 times the original speed of the drone footage? That's right. Am I saying that correctly? Yes, you are. Okay. All right. I don't have any other questions, Judge. Mr. Baldwin? No, Judge. Thank you. Would it take approximately 9 minutes to walk from the trailhead at Freedom Bridge to the end of the High Bridge? Somewhere in that vicinity, I suppose. Give or take maybe 2 minutes. Okay. Any follow-up, Mr. McClellan? No, Judge. Mr. Baldwin? 9 minutes you think it took from the Freedom Bridge? Most people 9 minutes to get from the Freedom Bridge to the High Bridge? No, the question is to the end of the High Bridge. Oh, I'm sorry, from the beginning of the High Bridge to the end of the High Bridge. No, the question is, would it take approximately 9 minutes to walk from the trailhead at Freedom Bridge to the end of the High Bridge? Okay, thank you, Judge. So you believe that, give or take 2 minutes, it would only take 9 minutes? Just a guess. At this point, you have to take into consideration the nature of the bridge and whether they want to go quick or slow given the spacing between the rails. I'm sorry, it's hard to guess. That was the speed we did the drone at, even from the Freedom Bridge to the beginning of the High Bridge. You would think then that would take less than 9 minutes. Is that what you're saying? The original footage was 20 minutes. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Mr. Mullen. You may step down. Thank you. You may call your next witness. Judge, the next witness will be examined by Ms. Diener, so I'm going to let her call the next witness, Judge. Thank you, Ms. Diener. The state would call Jacob Johns, sworn. Good morning, Mr. Johns. Good morning. I'm going to ask you to speak up. The sound in this room is not the best. That is for the court reporter, so you can speak loudly into it. She can pick you up easily. We want the jury to hear what you have to say. Okay? Okay. All right, so tell the jury your name. Jake Johns. And Jake? Yeah. And Johns, Johns? Correct. Okay. And are you a Delphi lifelong resident? Lifelong. Okay. Do you know the LG family? Yes. Did you know them in 2017? Yes. And what was your association with that family? My wife had actually worked with Becky Patty. And so when Becky Patty testified that she had an employee by the name of Jennifer Johns, is that your wife? Correct? And what about the family of AW? Did not know her. Okay. And on the 13th of February 2017, did you learn that AW and LG were missing? Yes. And how did you learn that? My wife had come home and told me that they had been missing. And did you or your wife do anything that day to assist in looking for the girls? No. Were you employed in the Delphi area? Yes. And where did you work? Pearson's of Delphi. How do you spell Pearson's? What do you do at Pearson's? That's a propane company. And what would your particular job be with Pearson's? Just deliver propane to houses. Okay, so you would drive around the Delphi area. Yes, to deliver? Yes. On February 14th of 2017, did you become involved in helping search? Yes. Can you tell us how that came about? Actually, me and Shane Haygood went to work, clocked in, and the boss comes in and asks us if we'd be willing to go search. And we said, yeah, absolutely. So your employer is a local business in Delphi? Yes. And they offered for their employees to go help search on the clock? Correct. And so you and Shane Haygood decided to do that? Yes. Did you take the company vehicle to go to the area? No. We took his personal vehicle. Now, being a local community member, were you aware that there was a meeting at the city building or the fire station that morning to organize the search? Yes. And so were you involved in that meeting? No. What time did you clock in that morning? You may have already said it, but 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock, okay? So from your perspective, what was your intent with regard to the search if you were not going to the fire station meeting? We just figured they'd probably already started and had their groups together and just didn't want to cause any more commotion. Okay, at that point, did you have a reference point as to what you were looking, what area you were going to look for? The area was High Bridge. And we did have description of clothing to look for. So what kind of clothing were you looking for? Tie-dyed shirt was the main thing that we were looking for, which would be blue, yellow, orange, pink colors. Okay, do you recall where you got that information from? I believe my wife had told me that the clothing they were wearing that day. Okay, so Mr. Haygood drives? And where do you park? We park at Riley Park. Okay, no one has told the jury about Riley Park, so I'm going to have you assist us. Okay, will this map go back far enough to show? I don't think we show Riley Park. Okay, the poster. Oh, that's perfect. Okay, Mr. Johns, would you mind coming down? Sure, if I may, can everyone see this, okay? Not really? Okay. Okay. Mr. Johns, you said Riley Park, and we understand Riley Park is not on this May. All right. Would you agree that this is the Hoosier Heartland? Yes. Okay. And do you know what this is? That's the new bridge they put in, okay? Freedom Bridge? A Freedom Bridge. Yes. Okay. Okay. So with regard to the water of Deer Creek, do you recognize Deer Creek? Can you speak up? You need to speak up, sir. Thank you. Okay. And so in relationship to do you know where the High Bridge is? You follow Deer Creek? Yeah. Should be right in here. Okay. Where does it cross the water? Right here. Okay. Thank you. All right. Now, where in relationship to the High Bridge did you start searching? A. It was right downtown where the little softball field's at. So is it off the map? It was 4 hours. It took us 4 hours to get there, okay? From where we started. So is it off the map this direction? Yes. To your left? A yes. Okay, so back here in town somewhere? Yeah. Okay. And as you walked, what were you following? What path? We were just following the riverbed all the way to the High Bridge. And it took you 4 hours? 4 hours. Okay, have a seat up there. So the two of you start in Riley Park? Yes. And you're working your way toward the High Bridge? Yes. How are you spacing yourself? I'd say we was probably 10 feet apart, just he was looking towards the water and I was looking up bank a little bit. Okay? Just try to cover more area. So as you come towards, say, the Hoosier Heartland, are you in an area that is on this map? The top side of the water or the bottom side? We're still on the bottom, okay? And do you stay on the bottom side for your entire walk? The entire walk, yes. Okay, you said 4 hours to get to High Bridge? We started at 8:30 and probably got to the High Bridge around noon, okay? And when you get to the High Bridge, do you continue on underneath the High Bridge? We went under the High Bridge, and that's the moment that we found some clothing in the water. Okay, so you're walking along, and what do you see in the water? We see the shirt that was tie-dyed, okay? Can you tell us the shirt? Hung up on some roots. Oh, I'm so sorry. It was hung up on some roots that was in the water. Okay? As you're looking across the water and you see this, can you tell that it's a shirt? Yes. And what is it that makes you think it's a tie-dyed shirt? The colors, obviously, in February: yellow, pink, blue, orange. Okay, and you're with Shane Haygood? Correct. Was there anyone else with you? No. When you are walking the riverbed, is there anyone else in your group? No, just me and him. And I say riverbed, but you're not actually in the water? Never in the water. Okay? When you get to the point where you see clothing, what do? We come back up to the 625, which is a private drive. Okay? And there was a local fireman out there walking around. And did you speak to the fireman? Yes. What did you talk to him about? We told him that we thought we'd found some clothing that they could, notify other people or the police. And how did you know he was a fireman? He had his coat on that said Camden, and Erickson was his name, Erskine. Something with an E? Yeah. Okay. So you think this fireman might be able to help? Did you consider crossing the water? I think Shane tried going across halfway, but then it was like really deep. Like we only had short boots on, muck boots. Okay, so you stay on the south side? Yeah. The bottom side? Yep. And what does the fireman do? Agkai. He tried contacting people. I don't know if it was fire department or the police department, and never got any signals. So he decided to walk across the bridge to the other side to check it out for himself. Okay. And did you watch him do that? Yes, the whole time. And did you watch him approach the clothing? Yes. And could you speak to him from where you were? Yeah. Were you still down by the water when you spoke with him? No. We were up on the driveway. Okay. A private driveway. I'm going to have you come down one more time now and let them know where you were on the private drive. Yeah, so we were kind of right here on this private driveway right here. I'm going to put my pen about right here. About right here. Okay, you'd say right here. Right in there. Okay, if you can step over here so people that you might be blocking can see. Is my pen on the part where you were watching from? Correct. Okay, and you see him go up to the clothing. Yes. And is it only you and Mr. Haygood over here at this point? At that point, yes. Okay, go ahead and have a seat. Are you at some point communicating to the fireman on the other side of the water? Not really. Okay. And did he at some point communicate to you that he had located the tie-dyed shirt? Yes. And how did he do that? He said, "We have found the shirt." Then he also said, We have found some black Nike shoes. Okay, and you're looking in the direction of where he sees this clothing, correct? Right? And it's directly across from where you're standing? Yeah. Do you see anyone in this area searching? Nobody. And I'm pointing to the area between Deer Creek directly up to the cemetery. A nobody was over there. Okay. Are you familiar with this area on the upper side or the north side of the water? Not really. What did you have to do from the water level to reach this Weber access road? There's probably a 10 or 15-foot hill that goes up to it. Okay. Did you ever go from this Weber Drive up to the bridge? Yes. And is there another elevation between the Weber Drive and the bridge? Yes. Q, and what would you estimate that to be? Maybe about the same. Okay? An additional, yeah. 10 to 15. Yeah. When you're standing up here looking across, could you see people searching in this area? No. Did you see people searching when you were coming around the bend or prior to that? Prior to the bridge, there was people searching. Okay? On the other side. So prior to the bridge, there were people searching on the opposite side of the water. Yes. Did you see any on your side of the water? No. Did you, at some point, did your group contact law enforcement to say there's clothing in the water, or did someone else do that and you're unaware? The fireman was, I think, the one that got a hold of them. We contacted somebody that actually lived on that side, okay? That could maybe come down and check it out, okay? Did that resolve? About the same time the fireman was coming to the clothes. Okay? So you were aware that someone was being contacted to come from the other side? Yes. What do you mean by that, from the other side? Somebody that lived over there that Shane Haygood called to come down and check it out. Okay? So did you learn that someone was coming from the other side at some point? Yes. And who did you believe was coming from the other side? Pat Brown. And is that a person known to you from the community? Just the community? Yes. Okay, not personally? No. As you're standing up here and you're watching this fireman approach the clothing, do you hear or see anyone on the other side? Well, before that, other than the fireman, in the water. Before this, what's going on right now? Brad German, his wife Kelsey, and Michael Bennett actually showed up over there at the time that the fireman was going over there and the time that Pat Brown was coming down the hill. Okay? And that's some of the family of LG? Yes. Okay. Did you know those people personally prior to this day? Yes. Okay. And what was your familiarity with this whole area? Had you been to the High Bridge Trail? Never. Had you heard about the Monon High Bridge? I had not. So you lived here your whole life and didn't know about the High Bridge Trail? No. Okay. What about this cemetery? Just drove by it. Of course, we do a lot of route running, so I've been on about every road in Carroll County. Okay? But as far as the area from the cemetery to the water, were you familiar with that? Never. Okay, so you said you believed Pat Brown was coming from the other side. Correct? Did you ever see or hear Pat Brown? Did not physically see him, but we heard him coming. I think Shane was still on the phone with him, and he just said, "We have found the bodies." Did he sound alarmed? Absolutely. Okay, and so even when Pat Brown says the words, "We have found the bodies," are you looking from this elevated area over toward the clothing? Yes, still. And could you see Pat Brown? No. And could you see the bodies of AW and LG? Could not. From that side, could not. Where did you go then from that private drive when you left the area? We went out Weber's driveway on the other, out towards the front. So along this drive, coming back to the west, actually up by the house, you went out that? Yes. Direction? Yes. Okay, so this actually connects all the way around? Yeah. All right. There was a photograph taken of the clothing from your side of the water. Is that correct? Correct. Q, and although you did not take it, you're familiar with it? Correct. May I approach the witness, Judge? You may. Mr. Johns, I'm going to show you what's marked as State's Exhibit 7. Has the sticker in the bottom. Do you recognize that photo? Correct. Does it represent what you observed on February 14th, 2017, from the opposite side of the Deer Creek? This is it. Okay, State would move to admit and publish Exhibit number 7. Do we all ready? Any objection? No, Your Honor. I'll show without objection 8 is admitted and you may publish. And so just to clarify, Mr. Johns, you never crossed the creek into the area where the bodies were? No. No other questions. Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Johns, you gave a statement, I think, in 2019. Do you recall speaking to Rich Davies? I've given 7-8 statements to different people. Okay. And you said that you were up on the access road over here? Yeah. But you could see some shoe prints? Yeah. Okay, the other guy I was with could see some shoe prints? Yes. Did you see the shoe prints? No. I was more up towards the road, closer to the road, and he went down to the water. All right, and was there also a mark of a kind of a slide from the top of the bridge? Yeah, you can see where the ground and rocks had been disturbed. Absolutely. And that's on the morning of the 14th? Correct. And did you relay that information to law enforcement in that day at any time? Yeah. Now the shirt states Exhibit 7-8. I'm sorry, I marked it wrong. States Exhibit 8. That was pretty easy for you to see, correct? Q, and this is at about 12 o'clock on February 14th? Between 12 and 12:30, I'd say. All right. And you didn't go out to get the shirt, right? No. The water was really deep? Yeah. No area where the water wasn't deep. I think you could probably go halfway across and the water's flowing pretty well. Not really. No. Okay, did you ever go in the water at all? No. Now, you've also said that it was weird that there was only one fireman out there. Is that right? Correct. Can when you were up here on the access road, you couldn't see over here. Is that right? Could not. All right, but you could hear Pat Brown? Yeah, all right. You could hear him really well? Yeah. Q sound traveled pretty easily out there? Nothing further. Miss Diener, after Pat Brown walked down or you heard the voice of someone say, "We found bodies," could you see other people come to the area? I could not see them, but we could hear them traveling down the hill, okay? Like leaves wrestling around and walking, okay? So even though you could hear people, you could not see them, and you were in an elevated position, right? No other questions. Miss Auger, now Mr. John or John's S? I'm sorry. It's all right. Is that right? About the middle of from there to the house. Okay, so a little farther, on the access road? Yeah, okay. And do you know where the voice of Pat Brown was coming from? Yeah, it was exactly straight across from us. Okay, how do you know that? I don't exactly know that, but I mean, Shane told him where to come, and that's where he came in, right from the graveyard. Okay, thank you. Does anybody on the jury have any questions for Mr. Johns? No response or indication from any juror. All right. Thank you, Mr. Johns. You may step down. Thank you. We're going to take our morning break. Yes, Judge. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is an appropriate time for us to take our morning recess. While you're outside the courtroom, please keep your minds open. Please don't form any opinions or conclusions about anything. You may discuss the evidence that you've heard so far, but please only do that if all 16 of you are present in the jury room at the same time, and then please don't deliberate. Gentlemen, all rise. Jury out at 10 a.m. All right, let's resume at 15 minutes, please. Jody, you can go off the record. Off record at 10:27 a.m. Record M. Okay, we're back on the record, and are we ready for the jury to come back? Yes. Yes, Your Honor. Yes. Sorry, I can't see you. Judge, that's okay. And just a reminder, we're going to noon today. So could be a little bit before noon, depending on where we're at with your witnesses. All rise. Jury in FFRAM, thank you. You may be seated. Thanks, gentlemen. All right, Mr. McClelland, you may call your next witness. Judge, before we call our next witness, during the break, I was able to get a screenshot of the image that we marked up. I've submitted it to your court reporter and had it marked as State's Exhibit 7. I would ask the court permission at this time to publish that picture to the jury. I've also provided that to the defense. You may, MR. Thank you, Judge. And again, ladies and gentlemen, just keep all of that stuff inside of your folders so that you have those available. Judge, while they're passing that exhibit, the state would call Pat Brown. Good morning, Mr. Brown. Good morning. Okay, That is not going to amplify your voice. Okay, sorry, no, I apologize. So you'll have to do the amplifying. All right, and I'll remind you if you start to get quiet. Okay. All right, tell the jury your full name. Patrick Neil Brown. And do you live in the Delphi area? Yes, I do. Have you always lived in the Delphi? Yes. What do you do for a living? I work at Tate & Lyle. They make cornstarch. Is that a Delphi business? Lafayette. How far is that from your home? Probably about 25 minutes or so. Q. And are you familiar with the Monon High Bridge trail area back in 2017? Yes. Yes. Is your home in the vicinity of others that live in that area? Yes. I'm about 1.5 miles or 2 miles away. Okay, I'm going to have you talk a little louder. 1.5 miles, 2 miles away. Okay. So the county road that passes alongside the Mears entrance to the trail, is that a familiar area to you? A yes. And in 2017, were you familiar with LG or her family? Yes. Q. In what way? I've known Mike since high school. Q. And we're referring to Mike Patty? Yes. Do you have children around the same age? Yes. My daughter's the same age as the oldest granddaughter, I do believe. And we're talking about Kelsey? A Kelsey, yes. What about AW? No, I don't know them. Okay, in 2017, were you working at Tate & Lyle? Yes. And what kind of shift do you have there? I work a day shift. I work in the maintenance department. Is that a set schedule? Yes. What are your hours? Monday through Friday, 7 to 3, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m.? Yes. Okay, so do you recall that February 13th of 2017 was a day off of school? Yes. On that particular day, did you work? Yes. Did you at some point become aware that LG and a friend of hers were missing? Yes. That evening. Can you tell us about your day and when it was and how it was that you learned that? I went to work that day. I worked all day long. 3 o'clock, I got off work, drove home. On my way home, I stopped at the parts store, got an oil filter for my wife's SUV. Went on home, changed the oil in my wife's SUV. We were selling it to a guy she worked with. So me and my daughter, we jumped into it after I was done. We drove to Monticello, dropped it off. Me and my wife drove home. I started to cook supper on the grill, and then shortly after we ate and everything, we were watching TV. And that's when my wife said that Becky had posted on Facebook that the girls were missing. And so at that time, if she said Becky Patty's granddaughter's missing, you would know who she was talking about? Yes, well, one of them, okay? And did you then do anything with regard to the information that they were missing? Yes. I called Mike and we're talking Mike Patty? Yes. And asked him if they had found them or anything, because I didn't know how long that post had been. And I called Mike and he was at the police station, I do believe. And then I told him I was going to go see if I could help look, see if we could find them. Okay. Was it dark at this point? Yes, it was. And so what did you do in order to assist? I called Tom Mears, a buddy of mine, and I asked him if he wanted to go look for the girls. He was busy at the point, but said he would meet me over by the High Bridge. Okay, so Tom Mears, we've heard a lot about the Mears name. Yes, are there a lot of Mears? Yes. Family members? Yes, there is. Okay, and do they all live in the same vicinity that you live in? Yes, most of them do, yes. Okay, so you made arrangements to meet with Tom Mears? Yes. Where did you go to meet with him? Well, I went over to the cemetery, which I pulled into the cemetery and I parked. I walked around the cemetery. I don't know if you want a map or come on up and we'll show them where you're talking about. So I'm going to stand on this side. Okay, so you can be out of the way of the jury seeing the picture, but I've shown you a map of the area before. Yes, I'll give you an opportunity to get acclimated. Okay? Okay, so what area would you be coming from if you left home? If I left home, I'd be coming from this area up here, okay, and coming around through that way. So you'd be coming from the north? Yes. Travel south? Yes, to this perpendicular road on the picture. What is that road? Do you know? Hey, I don't know the road number. It's okay. Do you travel on it often? Judge, is it okay if I ask the jury whether they can see it? There indicate. Can you see it? No, I think there is a glare, and I think yesterday, if you had it. See, I tried to put it where they... Maybe move it a little bit forward. Okay, let's try that. Is that better? Okay. Everybody's giving a thumbs up. There we go. Perfect. Everybody in the back row does a thumbs up. Anybody thumbs down? Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay? Coming from off the map, okay? And you come down to the perpendicular road. Yes. Okay. Come to this road here. And where'd you go from there? Okay. I come down this road. Come over. I stopped here at Ron Logan's house. Okay. Why'd you stop at Ron Logan's? Well, I stopped to ask him if he might have seen the girls. Retired. I didn't know maybe if he'd seen them walk by or anything like that, so I thought I would ask him if he had seen them. Okay. And was there anything unusual about your conversation with Ron Logan? No. Did he indicate he had seen the girls? No. Okay. And then what'd you do? So I left there and I come on down the road and I come to this edge, just turning into the cemetery here. Come in, parked my vehicle right in this area here. Are you in the cemetery? Yes. Okay. Still in the cemetery? Yes. And there's a ravine that runs through here. So I come around. I think I knew there was people on the bridge. I could hear them. I could see lights. So I come around and I walked along this ravine, this ridge, and I worked my way along the ridge to the bridge back here. Then I found they had a vehicle backed up. They were getting a drone out to fly a drone. I talked to the people there for a little bit. They said they had searched the area here, so talked to them for a little while, and then I left and come up to the Mears entrance, what they call the Mears entrance. Followed the trail through here to the Mears entrance. And then Tom called, and I met him right in here. On that road? Yes, on that road. Me and Tom picked up, and then we took and drove around. We went out to the Heartland, come back around to 2 and 18, went around there's an old gravel road, goes back through, and it comes out by Mike and Becky's and around. We drove all around the country, looking to see if they were out walking. Okay, so let's go back to what you observed here. Yes. What part of this area is familiar to you? What part of it? Yes, this part. Okay, so the part to the west of the ravine, yes. Toward the High Bridge Trail, yes. Okay. And what do you know about this ravine area? Well, it's pretty steep and everything in there. So, okay, would it be difficult to walk directly from the west of the trail and just go straight across? Yes, I think it would be. Okay? And so even when you parked in the cemetery on what would be the west side of the drive, you went around the wooded area, around to the north, because the ravine comes up through there, right around this. Oh, okay. So it's even deep along the side? Yeah. Of the cemetery? I wouldn't say it's real deep, but in the dark you could probably break a leg pretty easy in there. So you come up around that wooded area that we can see, and you walk along this. Walk along, field or down in here. Walk along here, and work my way to the bridge, right along through here, and then to the bridge. Yes. Okay. Is there an area in here where you could not walk close to the water? Yes. It's really steep right here. It's very steep. So you came from the cemetery toward the High Bridge? Yes. Did you ever cross the High Bridge? No. And then you went backward on the trail? Yes, that way. Okay. Where it's dark, correct? It's dark. Do you have a flashlight with you? Yes. And can you see other people with flashlights? Yes. In what vicinity do you see flashlights? I see flashlights over in here, and some back in here, and there were a couple back here at the bridge that had flashlights too. Could you tell? Right at the entrance area. Okay? And the people that were there with the drone, did they look like they were with law enforcement in some capacity? I could not tell you. Okay? Could have been random people. It could have been just someone that was... You get with Tom. You drive around, yes, the area. Did you and he ever come back to the trail? Yeah. He brought me back to my truck and then he went home. I also went home. I got home and I talked to my wife because I needed a can of Skol, so I drove back to town and got me a can of Skol. And then, while I was in town, I drove some of the back roads, Old 25 all the way out, but I stopped at the fire station at first and talked to the guys at the fire station and asked them what they heard. They hadn't heard anything, so like I said, I drove some of the back roads, Old 25 down, and I come to 2 and 18 and I went back home. Q, was it your thought that the girls may have attempted to walk home? Yeah. Well, walk home, walk into town. I was just looking to see. I didn't know where they would walk or okay. So because the Patty home is in the same vicinity as yours is off the map? Yes. They're off the map over there. Okay, so you go home that night after you've stopped at the fire station and, yes, talk to some other people. Yes. What do you do on the 14th of February? Would that have been a work day for you? Yes. I got up, I called off work to help search. I asked the wife if she heard anything or seen anything on Facebook, and she had not seen anything. So I went ahead and called off work to help with the search, if there was one. I drove into town. I'm not sure of the time. It was still dark. Okay. I drove into town, got a cup of coffee, talked to John Randall. He was going to work at the police station. And after I got done talking to him, we talked for a little bit. I drove back home because my daughter was getting ready for school. And then I drove back into town again after she'd got ready and gone. And I went to Stonehouse. I met Tom and his father-in-law at Stonehouse. Now, just so the jury knows, the Stonehouse is a local restaurant. Is that correct? Yes. Yes. Okay, it's a restaurant. And it's in the downtown area? Yes. Did you take your daughter to school? Or did she transport herself? No, she got on the bus. On the bus, okay? Okay, so you're at the restaurant? Yes. And what happens from there? Drinking coffee. Then we went across because they was doing the thing over at the firehouse. So we went across to see what was going on over there. And that's when they was talking about the search and everything. And Mr. Mullins, Officer Mullins, seemed to be heading it up, gave us his phone number and everything, and got the searchers ready. So did you collect the phone number of Steve Mullen when you were at that meeting, in case you needed it later? Yes. Prior to that, you would not have had it? No. Did you know that he was the Delphi chief of police? No. So you get a phone number. What area do you go to search and who goes with you? Me and Tom, we went together. We come out because they said they was going to be using helicopters and stuff and fly them over this area here. And what area are you referring to? The trail? This? Yeah, the trail area. Okay, all this area here. So we come out and went over this way. And you're pointing to the right side of the map? Yes. East of the cemetery? Yes, we went over that way. There's a couple fields over there and farms along the creek, so we went over there, looked there. There used to be, years ago, there used to be a cave in the side of the, hillside or whatever. There used to be a cave in there. So we went to check and see if maybe they had gotten in the cave. And the cave had been collapsed long before that. So there were trees over it. So we moved on and checked a couple other places. And when we got done there, looking where we looked, we went back to Tom's house because he was getting some wood cut up. He has a sawmill. We went back there to his place, messed around a little bit, and then I went home, got a call from my daughter, and she wasn't feeling well at school, so I went to school and I picked her up. What time of day do you think that was? I'm going to say 10:30, 11. I'm not sure. So mid-morning? Yes, okay. So she wasn't... You take her home? Yes. All right, and then like I said, I pick her up, took her home, got her home, we sat there for a little bit, ate lunch. I thought at that time they had step across here, okay? This is where, this building here, I think is where they had set up a command center. And what do you mean by command center? What did you see there? Well, I never got there. Oh, okay, you heard about it? Yes, I heard they had a command center set up there. Okay, I think they put a trailer there or something that they was working out of. So I left my house, was going to the command center to see what was going on. And that's when Tom Mears called me. And he said, hey, I just got a phone call from Shane Haygood, and they seen something along the creek. And he said, if you can go look here. Tom told me to. He was asking me if I could go look. So I told him, yeah, sure. So I come back to the cemetery and I pull in. I park right in here, in this area. Same as the day before? Yes, right in that area, yes. And at this point, do you know Shane Haygood? No, I don't. And do you know anything about the area where they are? No, all I know is they're across the creek on that side. On the south side? Yes. So then how do you communicate with the people on the other side of the water? Well, Tom told me that they had seen something. So I come to the cemetery and I tried to call Shane because he gave me his phone number. I tried to call him. He didn't answer. So I proceeded to come across the way here on the east, right? Okay, yes, that'd be on the east side. There's a gate, and I come through that gate, and he called me after I got through the gate. He called me back and said they had seen something. Wait, who is he? Shane Haygood. And is that private property at that point, outside the cemetery? Yes, it is. Okay, yes, it is. Is it marked? I don't know if it is or not. Okay? So I cross over there, and Shane calls me back, and he says that they are across the creek, and he could see something down from the cemetery along the creek. So I proceed to walk that way, and that's when I ran into Melissa Marchand. Okay? And me and her talked. She was coming from this direction somewhere, and we met right in here, and we spoke for a little bit, and I told her that Shane had called, said that they had seen something by the creek, and they also said that there was a fireman walking along the creek, go toward the fireman. So that's the direction we went. At this point, when you're up here, can you see the water? Can you see from here? The water from here? A little bit, but not a lot. Okay, so we proceeded to go towards the creek, and that's when we came across the girls, and what'd you do? I looked, and at first I thought they were mannequins. Okay, did you say something out loud? Yeah, I said, we found them. And it's okay, I need a minute. Sure, that's when Melissa, she took off and ran back towards the other way. I turned around, and like I said, I yelled out, we had found them. You need to call the police. I got on the phone. I called Mr. Mullins, told him that we had found them. I stood there, facing away from them. And then while I was standing there, Ben Mears come from the west with another fellow, and they come over and they stopped. And the fireman he come from the west and was here. So I was standing there. 3 girls come from over here, and they come over and they did not get close to the girls, but they stood there for a little bit, and then they went up by the cemetery. I walked over to Ben Mears, and go ahead. At that point in time, we stood there and waited, and that's when police officers came. Okay, I'd like to switch this out for a picture that's closer up so that you can help us with who you saw and where you saw them, okay? So, Judge, for the record, I would indicate that up to this point, Mr. Brown's referencing State's Exhibit 2, the large map. Mr. Brown, now we have State's Exhibit 3, which is a closer view of the cemetery and Deer Creek area. Would you agree? Yes. Okay. Now, when you were pointing to the area, you were not very close to the water. I'd like you to be more specific about the location where you saw the girls with respect to Deer Creek. I'm going to guess right in here, I guess. It's hard to tell. Okay. They can't see. Is it all glare? He's standing in front of it. Oh, right in this area, I would say. Okay, you felt like it was farther away? Yes. I mean, yeah, you don't know? Yes. Okay, did you at some point go closer to the fireman that was in the water? Yes. I come to the creek? Okay. Where Ben Mears was with another guy, standing with him, so I followed him through, and the guy dressed in the fireman's clothes was over here, and I was standing, okay, there with them. And when you were closer to the water, talking to the fireman, did you know that he had come from the water or where? No, I didn't know where he came from. I didn't know if he came from this way or I didn't see him. Okay, and you said you saw Ben Mears? Yes, ma'am. Did you see what area he came from? Yes. He come from this direction. From the west? From the west, yes. Okay, did he come from that direction after you saw the bodies? Yes. And you said you were with Melissa. Did you know her to be a relative of LG's family? Yes. And what direction did she go? When she left? Yes. She went back up this way and ran back the way we came. So, okay. After she got away from me, I don't know where she went. Did you leave the vicinity of the bodies after you saw them? Yes. I walked over here with Ben Mears. Were you still? I never left the area, though. Could you still see the area where the girls' bodies were? I could see where they was at, but I could not see them, though. So if you were along the edge of the water searching, looking toward the cemetery or this vicinity, do you believe you would have been able to see the bodies of LG and AW? From where I was at? No. How close did you get to the bodies? Roughly 5 feet, right in there. Were you any closer than you and I standing here? Probably this distance. Okay, and did you see anyone with you get closer to the bodies? No. Did you have a firearm with you that day? No, I did not. Could you see Shane Haygood that was on the other side of the water giving you directions? No, I did not see anybody on the other side of the water, but I wasn't really paying attention after you saw we found the girls, yes. Did police arrive before you left? A. Yes. And what happened when police arrived? We were standing here, I was standing there, Ben, the other guy, and then the guy in the fire department garb. The police officers came down, and that's when they kind of took our information, and then they asked us to leave the way we walked in. So you see law enforcement come from the cemetery area? Yes. And those are the first police officers that you see? A yes. And when you leave the same direction that you came? A yes, yes, ma'am. And what about the other civilians that were in that area with you? They left the directions that they told them to leave the directions that they came also. Okay, so not everyone went with you to the cemetery? No. You can have a seat back in the witness chair. I'd pass the witness. Mr. Baldwin, hi Pat, how are you? How are you? Q, doing good up there. You don't seem nervous. I've just got a few questions for you. Okay, you said on your direct examination that up near, this is the cemetery? Yes. You could hear people from the bridge when you were up here at the cemetery? Yes. That was the day before, or? Yeah, on the 13th. Yes. So the sound was pretty good from here? Yes. To you? Yes. And you could also see lights, I think is what you said. Yeah, you could see flashlights. All right, from the cemetery down to the bridge? Well, maybe not all the way to the bridge, but you could see lights in the woods there. Yes. Did you see the clothing? Did you see the clothing in the creek? No, I did not. Okay. You weren't looking for it? No, I wasn't looking for that. All right, I wanted to kind of clear up some stuff. The Ben Mears, try to get a better understanding of when and where he was. So Ben Mears was walking along with another guy along this creek here? Yes. I don't know where they was walking, I just know where they come out. They came out near the creek? Yes. But they were heading this way? Yes. So, and I'm indicating for the record east from the west to the east. Is that correct? A. Yes. All right. Yes. And you can walk along that creek there? There's a ridge there, but I'm not sure. I haven't been back in that part, so I don't know. Okay, I couldn't tell you how steep it is, or I just walked along the ridge there. I don't know if there's a place along the creek you can walk or not. And how far do you have to travel down from the cemetery to where you can see the creek? I think you testified to that, but I wanted to make sure. Oh, I would say maybe 30, 40 yards maybe before you could see the creek. Where the girls were located, could you see the creek from there? Yes. Okay. If you went up, you could see them even beyond that? You could see the creek a little bit, yes. And just so the jury understands, I mean, the steepness you can't really see it here. But this is pretty steep right here, right? Yes, where the ravine is, yes. Yeah. But by the time you get down to where the girls are, it's a flatter area? Yes, it gets flatter, yes. Okay, in fact, it's pretty flat? Yes, you wouldn't happen to know how many feet from the creek here to where the girls were? I would not know, no. Difficult. Were you told that there was going to be dogs searching in this area? I had heard that. Yes, at the thing that they was going to have dogs there, I had heard that. Yes, so there was some interest, you think, in searching in this area over here? Yes, I think they was going to look there, yes. And just so the jury understands, the other fellow that was coming in, the fireman, he was coming along the creek from this direction? Yes, from what I could see, that's the way he was coming in, yes. Then there was 3 girls, and they were more up here in this area. Is that what you were saying? Well, when I seen them, they come from that area, yes, okay? But they were able to get down to the area where you were? Yes, I'm not sure which way they took, but they got to me, yes. So you can get from this upper area to this lower area, correct? Oh yeah, you could, okay? But it's very steep. There's some steep areas in there that's, sure. For guys of a certain age, maybe a little bit difficult than others. Yeah, some older guys, yes? Yeah. So when you called Steve Mullins, yes. Where were you on here? I was standing facing away from the girls. So and you had phone service there? Yes, I did. You did? A bunch of police officers had arrived fairly quickly after you had made your phone call, is that correct? Well, the 2 showed up and they come and took our information and everything, and then shortly after that, as we were leaving, they were coming in. Yes. Yeah. And you've described it in the past as a bunch of police officers coming down. Yes, there was several. Yes. Okay, and they were in uniform? Yes. Guns? Yes. And they walked in the area where you were? Yes, they walked straight in that area? Yes. In fact, you encountered as you walked up from down here. I mean, you walked all the way up to the cemetery at some point in time, right? Yes. And you encountered... Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry. No, I wasn't saying anything. Okay, I was just answering. And you encountered police all the way up as you were walking up to the cemetery? Yes, lots of police. Correct? There was a few. You are a deer hunter, I know that from because of yes, is that correct? Are there lots of scavenger type of animals in Carroll County, such as coyotes? Oh, there's coyotes, yes. Buzzards, yes. Turkey buzzards? Objection, Judge. Outside of direct, sustained. Last question. This is, they say, don't ask a question you don't know the answer to. I'm about to do that. I thought the schools were closed on that. Oh, that's the next day. Yes. Okay. Got it. Thank you. No other questions, Miss Diener? No other questions, Judge. I'd like to release Pat Brown from his subpoena. Okay. Does anybody on the jury have any questions for Mr. Brown? Okay. All right. If counsel would approach, please. Who was your phone provider in 2017? Yes. Firm? Phone. Phone. Oh, okay. Approximately how long did it take for the police to get to the spot that the bodies were found in after you found them? Yes. How fast was the crime scene secured when the people were told to leave the area? Fine. How long is your next witness? I will have to ask. I'm just thinking we ought to break. I can't speak to how long the witness will be. I'm still doing only 3 witnesses, so we're trying to... Okay. Sidebar conference concluded. Mr. Brown, yes. Who was your phone provider in 2017? That's a good question. I do believe it was Verizon. Verizon? Any follow-up, Ms. Diener? I did not hear his answer. He said Verizon? Verizon? Thank you. No follow-up? Okay. You believe it's Verizon? Do you pay in my house? I don't have any idea who are... My wife pays the bill, but your wife pays the bills? Yes. I do believe it was Verizon, though. Okay, a yes. Approximately how long did it take for the police to get to the spot that the bodies were found in after you found them? Well, honestly, it seems like it takes forever in a situation like that, but I would say maybe 5 minutes at the tops, maybe. Any follow-up? Miss Diener? No. Mr. Baldwin? No, Your Honor. Thank you. And how fast was the crime scene secured when the people were told to leave the area? They took over pretty quick. Pretty quick. None from the state. Mr. Baldwin? No, Your Honor. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Mr. Brown. You may step down. Okay. Thank you. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've been advised by the state that the next witness could be fairly lengthy. And rather than keep you well into the noon hour and having your lunch way late, we'll just go ahead and break a little bit early, get you a little bit more time. Again, while you're outside of the courtroom, please keep your minds open. Please don't form any opinions or conclusions about anything. Since you will be in the company of the bailiffs, I cannot permit you to discuss the evidence, so please don't do that. I know we have a couple of activities planned for you today and tomorrow, so please enjoy your time off. You will reconvene here in Carroll Circuit Court Monday at 9 a.m. Have a safe and peaceful weekend, and we'll see you then. Gentlemen, all rise. Jury out at 11:30 a.m. You may be seated. Anything we need to do outside the presence of the jury? No, Judge. I don't believe so. I think the state is fine until Monday, okay? Anything. Mr. Razi? No, Judge. No, Your Honor. Okay, those of you in the audience are permitted to leave, and media, you may approach into the well of the courtroom for your 15-minute review. Jody, you can go off record at 11:30 a.m., on record October 21st, 2024 at 9 a.m. All right? Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are back on the record in State of Indiana versus Richard Allen, 08C01-2210-MR1. Show the defendants here in person with counsel. State is here by the elect and his deputies. The jury is here. Are we ready to begin? Judge, can we approach just briefly just to address the court? Sidbar conference concluded. Judge, the state's case today, we've got officers to testify, And then we're going to go the CSI officers that examine the scene. There's going to be a lot of photos of it.
Okay.
Our next witness after that is coming from 2 hours away. I assumed that would take the whole day, so I have him coming at 9 o'clock tomorrow. Oh, okay. So if I see we're getting done early, I can call him and give him. Are you giving some thought about giving the jury a mental break after they see the... Okay. Crime scene photos? Okay. I don't know all the timing. We still might be in a position where we ask the court to recess a little early today. Okay? If the next witness isn't here. Okay? And I'm meeting with media representatives at noon to give them back their equipment. They filed another motion, or somebody filed a motion last night. The motion to intervene? Yeah. Whatever. Who cares? I'll deal with that later. Just trying to give you a heads up. Okay. All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. Sidebar conference concluded. All right, well, thanks for the update. Are we ready to bring the jury back in? Yes, Your Honor. Folks, we ready? Yes. All right, gentlemen, all rise. Jury in at 9:00 a.m. Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you, gentlemen. I'll let you get all settled in there, ladies and gentlemen. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's nice to see you back this morning. I know that we had an activity planned for you on Saturday that you all took advantage of. We also provided an opportunity for you to spend some time with your families on Sunday. And I know several of you were able to have your family members come down.